Welcome back, everyone. We're here with another show that's a little delayed today, but we're going to jump right in. Anything that I say is not meant to diagnose or treat or replace modern medicine, if you want to do that. So just check with your doctor before implementing any of these things. But let's just dive right in. A lot of people have a lot of questions.
Absolutely. Okay, let's start off with Debbie from YouTube. My platelet count has been running low. Could that be the result of taking cod liver oil supplements every day?
It's highly, highly unlikely because cod liver oil are not going to take those platelets out of the normal range. They will support that to put it in the normal range. So there has to be something else. Cod liver oil has been used for over literally, 100 years, even by medicine, like even in this is a 1926 version of this medical pharmacy book that they used to use. But they used to use it for all sorts of things, originally for rickets, which is vitamin D, softening of the bone, but at the time they didn't really know, but they used it and it worked. But then they find out it works great for TB and all sorts of other healing things, even topical things, because it goes way beyond just the vitamin D and even the omega-3. It has things in there that are super important for your immune system that are in the same thing as things in shark, the liver of a shark, which has been used for certain remedies, and also in breast milk. There's certain things in there that can help the immune system. So I don't think that's it.
All right, good. Well, that's very hopeful. Susan from YouTube. I've been a type 1 diabetic for 38 years. All of a sudden, my B12 levels are high, and my doctor can't find any reason. That's interesting.
So the big question is, are you taking B12? Because if you're taking number one, if you're taking the synthetic version, which is cyanocobalamin, a lot of times that doesn't ever get converted into the active form. And so then it remains in the blood. And then when you test it, it seems like the levels are very, very high because it hasn't been converted. And there's something involved with that called methylation, which I'm not going to get into. But so just because it's normal blood doesn't really mean that it's getting into the cells. So a lot of times it's just a lack of conversion of that B vitamin, that B12 vitamin. And I'm going to do a video on this actually today. It's funny you asked that, and talk about all the different reasons why you can have normal or high levels of B12 and other B vitamins, yet have the symptoms, neuropathy symptoms, burning and tingling and all sorts of neurological stuff. So stay tuned for that video because this will explain why.
Well, guess what, Dr. Berg? Let's look at our first question.
What is the best vitamin for nerve pain in general? I'm talking about mainly the neuropathy, which is like the pain in the feet and hands.
Isn't that crazy? Okay, let's go on to Prawn about a boot. Oh, good grief! From Rumble. Doesn't it matter what kind of onion we use to treat my hair loss? Do you have a preference? Is it the blue and the purple ones?
Good question, because I don't think there's a big difference, but I don't know for sure. I would probably use just a yellow onion, but I do know there's some slight differences with phytonutrients in the red onions because they have additional phytonutrients that have different pigments, but they both are very high in quercetin and other things that can actually stimulate the hair growth. And there's a great study on it, and I talk about it in one of the videos. So, and people are doing it. Even you can read on the comments in the video, they're getting results. So, it's one of those things, just try it and see. And if it doesn't work on a yellow onion, try a red onion. But just don't mention my name if you're doing this in a public setting and someone's asking about it.
Absolutely. All right. You'll be exempted from that. Sashi1 from Rumble. My gallbladder was removed about a year ago. My estrogen levels are high and I have swelling in the area of my liver. Any thoughts? I take TUDCA, ox bile, and digestive enzymes, and also do healthy keto. Sounds like Sashi's doing everything right. Trying to.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing everything right. But, there's really first make sure that it's related to the liver and estrogen, because there is there's a certain factor. It's a steroid, or it's a hormone factor in your liver that helps buffer estrogen. And are you sure that that is the problem? Because you're right, if you have the gallbladder removed or it's backed up, then you might have a problem with that sex-binding globulin hormone thing. And then what happens is then your estrogen can increase. So, and then you're doing the right thing by taking more bile, because obviously when you remove the gallbladder, we might not have the normal production levels or the concentration, and that could be a problem. However, back up and just make sure that's the problem, because there's other reasons why estrogen is high. One is you could be deficient in iodine. So that's another thing to help buffer that estrogen. Also, estrogen actually in a female and a male comes from testosterone. So you want to look at this whole chain. Look at the precursors, like cholesterol. They're made from cholesterol. Are you taking the cofactors? And there's a lot of different pieces of this puzzle related to estrogen dominance and diet. But you may need to add choline or something like that. But anyway, I think with these questions, it's you want to just, if you're not getting results on the typical thing, back up and reevaluate. Am I sure I have this problem? Because it might be something slightly different.
All right, very good. Let's go to JJSQ from Rumble. My doctor says I have dermatitis, while my dermatologist says it's hives. It itches like crazy. Is there any natural treatment for this awful condition?
So a lot of times hives could be related to something that you're eating, an allergy, something like that. But there's also a backup of bile into the liver, into the blood, which can cause hives and itching as well. So it could be one remedy. It could be that TUDCA. TUDCA is a synthetic version of bile, but it's a very unique synthetic version that seems to work really good. I've never seen a side effect, but it's like from bear bile, and that bile helps to open up the flow of any type of sludge that you have in those bile ducts. So it's not just good for cleaning up the liver, making sure that things are processed and helping with itching, but it's also good to reduce the a problem with the liver itself in relationship to inflammation and scarring and fibrosis. But it also tend to be good for your joints. It's good for the brain. It's one of those things where I will recommend it to a person if they've tried everything and nothing's worked. I recommend TUDCA.
All right, very good. Georgina, you hang on, because we're going to answer quiz question number 1. Then we're going to come to you. And quiz question number 1 asks, what is the best vitamin for nerve pain, after having just talked about that? And 65% of respondents say it's benfotiamine, 20% say it's alpha-lipoic acid, 10% say it's vitamin B1, and the final 5% say it's the good old popular vitamin D3. Any winners?
Interesting, because I was mentioning B12. So you guys, everyone said like B1 or benfotiamine, which is a synthetic version of B1 in a fat-soluble form. The thing about B1, and you're correct, it is B1, because B1 is, just think nerve when you think about B1. And it could be nervous tension, it could be actual nerves. And what it does is it's involved as a helper thing in making energy, especially related to glucose. If someone's consuming too much refined carbohydrates or glucose, not to mention any names, Steve, what happens is now the body, the spark plug, can't metabolize that. So then you get a lot of backup of like residue and toxicity, because this glucose isn't being burned efficiently. And the more you consume those things, you become more depleted of B1. And then what happens, the nerve cells, especially the long nerves of the body that go down to your feet, they can't get energy, and so they start to die, especially in the area of the myelin, the myelin sheath, that's the coating around the nerve. And so now we have this tingling, burning in your toes. That's why diabetics have that, right? And so the problem is B1 is water soluble. How are you going to get it into the nerve? Because that's fat. You take this benfotiamine. Benfotiamine will cross in there, get in there, and it starts to give energy to the nerve to restore it. It's like mind-blowing. It works great. But now alpha-lipoic acid is a powerful antioxidant that helps recycle other antioxidants. And because part of this is a problem with too much oxidative stress, which is that byproduct of all the damage. And so this tends to clean that up. It helps support energy because you need that too in your mitochondria. So this is why I wouldn't take alpha-lipoic acid direct only for neuropathy. I would take benfotiamine with alpha-lipoic acid. And then you have this great combination for anything related to neuropathy, peripheral neuropathy, or any type of nerve pain that you might have.
All right, very good. Okay, let's go to our first guest, and her name is Georgina. And go ahead with your question for Dr. Berg.
Hi, thank you for having me. So about 6 months ago, through blood test, I was diagnosed with hypoparathyroidism, and I did some research on that. I understand how it works. It was a low dose of it, my doctor, through the test. And I'm just curious, is there any way that I could treat that without being on medicine for the rest of my life?
So you said dosage. You talk about medication because you said hypoparathyroidism, right?
Yes, correct. And I'm not on any medicine right now
give...
for that.
Okay.
I haven't started it yet.
Okay. So I'm always interested in root causes, right? Especially with the parathyroid. I think, one of the things that parathyroid hormone does, and a lot of times people don't realize this, is that it's kind of like a backup vitamin D. And so when your vitamin D levels are too low, it'll start going really, really high, okay? To be able to mobilize some of the calcium from the bone to keep calcium levels. So when it's too low, usually that means that you have enough vitamin D. So my question would be, is there any other thing that occurred right before this? Was there any type of situation that another piece of the puzzle to be able to figure this out? Because it doesn't seem like the doctors are going into the root cause of this. They're kind of like, well, let's treat it right now and then let's see what happens. And we don't even know the side effects of that.
I did get my tubes tied. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. And it seems like everything since I got that done, my body's it's been lacking something. Interesting.
So let's if that's all we have, the ovaries don't just produce these hormones; they do other things too, and they're related to a lot of other vitamins and minerals and things like that. So what I would do if I were you is I would maybe do something to support that thing that you just had done. And one of the remedies that I used to recommend in practice for anything related to uterus or ovary or the fallopian tubes is something called ovotrophin PMG. That's something from Standard Process. I'm not affiliated with the company, but that one seems to, it's almost like it helps complete that missing piece of the puzzle. So if you took one of those before bed and then just see what happens, I would kind of, especially even if you had the ovaries removed or the tubes tied, that's what I would recommend, and then just see what happens. And then also, what's happening with your calcium in your blood? Is it normal? And then what about the magnesium level? That would be important. And then also, lastly, vitamin D levels, where is that at in your blood? I would want to know because that's directly connected to that parathyroid hormone.
All right, very good. Georgina, thank you so much for the call. I hope that helps. And Georgina, this next question is for you as well. And there it is, Dr. Berg, number 2.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's just really hard to, you need really, the more data you have, the better. So it's just the best guess. Okay, so if you could pull that up again, Steve, so I can read it. True or false? The error regarding vitamin D, which is actually 600 IUs, which should have been 8,895 IUs, was eventually corrected. So I just want to let you know, there was an error in the research by the Institute of Medicine. That's kind of like the gold standard of recommending certain RDAs and protocols, right? So of course they're the top of the food chain as far as, and they basically, what happened was there was an error made 14 years later. They found this error, and the error was, hey, guess what? Based on all this information, the 600 IUs that we need to satisfy our body with vitamin D to keep the levels normal in our blood, it turns out it's not 600 IUs. It's just under 8,000 IUs. Okay, so that's the correct number to get our values normalized. So the big question I have for you is, was that corrected?
All right. Get on it, team. Sonia from YouTube, I'm tired of taking my hypothyroidism meds. Is there a more natural approach to treat this with supplements or minerals?
So again, I'm just giving you suggestions to research. I'm not telling you to do it or not, but typically most hypothyroid situations are autoimmune, 90%. That's Hashimoto's, in which case, is it really a thyroid problem or an immune problem? One of the best antidotes for Hashimoto's is selenium. And I would take some zinc as well, and vitamin D. But selenium helps not just the conversion from T4 to T3 for your thyroid, but it also lowers these antibodies that are attacking your thyroid. Selenium is just a fascinating trace mineral that just a lot of people are deficient, and it directly relates to getting your immune system to work and regulate better, especially called the T helper cells, which are like the quarterback that regulates the attacks against different things, as well as the tolerance to our own tissue, to be able to differentiate, no, don't attack our own tissue, attack these guys here. So selenium is the highest in Brazil nuts. And if you just had 2 of those a day, that might keep the doctor away.
Okay, very good. Let's go to a quiz question, or let's go to Vest first. Vest 220 from Rumble, would adding cucumbers and lemon juice to a smoothie be okay for a diabetic?
That's no problem. That's no problem. You can do that. I don't think it's going to make a really big difference either way, but I will tell you what will make a big difference is if you start keeping your carbs generally as low as possible and increasing to a good amount animal protein, okay? Animal protein. I think those 2 actions with intermittent fasting could be a game changer more than any other smoothie, shake, or drink.
All right, very good. Let's go on to quiz question number 2, which asks to the audience, is it true, false, or the error regarding vitamin D, 600 IUs, that should have been 88, 95 IUs was eventually corrected, and 99% of our respondents say it's false, and 1% is holding out for true for the big prize?
It was not corrected.
Wow.
It was absolutely not corrected. Now think about this. Why? Well, number one, certain medical groups don't like to be wrong, but that's not, I don't even think this was a mistake in the first place. I think it was intentional because out of all the groups that are probably the most captured by industry, it's the Institute of Medicine, the top of the food chain as far as the gold standard. They've been involved in literally so many different corrupt things over the years. They're literally, if it's, and this is my viewpoint, also someone who wrote the book, what was the name of the book? It was called, I can't remember, I just read it. I will put it down below, and I know it's pretty bad. I forgot the name of the book, but there was a leaked memo from the Institute of Medicine, a leaked memo of their meetings. And the whole thing is strategizing, how are we going to spin this? How are we going to keep people from looking into this? It's almost like it's just a complete front group from Big Pharma. So they were involved, the Agent Orange, saying, oh yeah, we need more research on that. silicone implants in breasts. What else? Asbestos, and I think it was in baby powder. Like the list goes on and on and on and on. And of course, in vitamin D, this is why it's still not corrected to this day. People still think they need 600 IUs, which is literally almost 3 minutes in the sun to get your normal vitamin D. Are you kidding me? Like, and people still believe that, and they might think 10,000 is toxic. No. 10,000 is just enough to keep things normal, okay? And it's not even a therapeutic dose. It's just to kind of keep things normal. So anyway, I hope I didn't overkill that answer, but
no, I think it's critical. I mean, we're all trying to, stay up with our health, and these people have alternate motives, which is just awful. And we have a third question there, does Dr. Berg?
Okay, why does breathing from your nose increase your body's oxygen level? Because if you're breathing through your nose, it's kind of restricting the air from going in there. How can that be?
All right, audience, climb on that. And we're going to go to a very patient Ling, who has been waiting to come on. And Ling, go ahead with your question for Dr. Berg.
Oh, hi, Dr. Berg. I'm Ling from Monterey Park, Southern California. In 2022, I was diagnosed with osteoporosis in lumbar spine. And my doctor now wants to put me on Prolia. I want to take alternative approach, but don't know how. Please advise.
Okay, so I'm going to give you some data to go into the research, not telling you to disagree with the medical doctor, but there's a really good research actually from Japan. I did a video on this. It talks about using higher doses of vitamin K2. Now K2 is all about keeping the calcium from the blood soft tissues into the bone to make the bones really solid and strong. And vitamin K2 comes from fatty foods. It comes from liver, but it also comes from fermented foods. Like, have you ever heard of natto before?
I'm taking every day.
Okay, so there's good. So here's the other thing is you may need to also, in addition to that, add exercise, and also there's vibration plates that you can get that add more activation on a I guess it's called a hertz level. I think if I'm not mistaken, it might be 38 hertz, and you set it to the vibration. These plates you can stand on. There's been some interesting research on helping people with osteoporosis just on these vibration plates, which is fascinating, as well as adding exercise, but then also high quality animal protein. You need collagen from certain things, not just regular lean meat doesn't have enough collagen, and then the trace minerals. These are all things that I think if you did that with enough K2, and you may need to supplement with K2 using a higher dose. Most vitamin K2 comes in micrograms. You want to get it in milligrams, like at least 40 or more milligrams of K2. There's a couple companies that sell that. I'm not sure who, but you can research that. I think all of that put together, and then just give it time. I think you'll come out a lot in a really good place.
That's great, Ling. I hope that helps. Okay, let's move along with, wow, quiz question number 3 has already been answered, and it asks, why does breathing from your nose increase your body's oxygen levels? And 86% of our respondents say it's because breathing increases nitrous through your nose increases nitrous oxide. 10% say it increases CO2 levels, and 4% say it's because it increases nitrogen levels. All very lofty answers.
Yeah. So what happens, obviously you're going to get a little bit more CO2, okay, versus oxygen. CO2 is necessary in your cells, in the red blood cells, to be able to release oxygen. Just envision right now, if you were to hyperventilate and you'd probably pass out. Why? Because of lack of oxygen. And then what do they tell you to do? Breathe in a paper bag. What are you getting? CO2. How does that work? There's something called the Bohr effect, and you need just a right amount of CO2 to get more oxygen. So this is not about just getting more oxygen. CO2 is not just a waste product. It's a necessary thing to unlock some of this oxygen. And even people in panic attacks, they breathe in a paper bag to get more CO2, which is really, you can get more released oxygen deeper in the cells. And this is why when you go to bed at night, really use the mouth tape or just breathe through your nose. And it might feel like you're not getting enough air, but you're getting more oxygen. You'll go to bed, you'll go into a nice restful sleep much better. But then also you want to slow the breath or have an even pace of maybe 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out, or 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. Keep the pattern the same. And that's what I use every night. And it just, next thing you know, I'm waking up in the morning. So it works.
That's incredible. Now, this next gentleman that we have coming on, I think it's Siam Asunder, and I'm probably going to be embarrassed when he tells me what his real name is. Sir, would you announce for the world how to pronounce your name?
Yes, Sam, sir.
All right. Well, I was way off. Go ahead with your question for Dr. Berg.
Yes, sir. I'm suffering with erectile dysfunction and anemia. I'm diabetes and hypertension since 5 years, sir. Can you please suggest me?
What was the first condition you said before anemia?
Yes, erectile dysfunction, sir.
Oh,
Erectile
okay,
dysfunction. ED.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So all of those conditions are related. And so the most important thing to address as a root cause is something called insulin resistance. If you wanted to prove that you have that, go to the doctor and get what's called a HOMA-IR test, or even just a fasting insulin test. They never test the insulin. So if you're diabetic, chances are you have insulin resistance, which is going to greatly affect the nitric oxide, and that's going to create erectile dysfunction right off the bat. And also, you know, if you wanted to really turn things around, I think you can, probably in about 10 weeks, is go on a healthy version of the low carb diet, consuming high quality animal products or eggs if you want to do that. But definitely keep your carbs really low. Yes, exercise is important, but what the most important thing you can do for erectile dysfunction is really make sure your sleep is good. And that has to do with fixing the diet and going low carb. And of course, getting enough vitamin D will help you as well, and magnesium. I think if you just applied that, your type 2 diabetes would be incredible. Your blood pressure will come down because of the vitamin D and addressing insulin resistance. And then the erectile dysfunction will do much, much better. Because if you actually treat each one of those with a separate drug, you camouflage the root cause. You never really get better. You end up being a polypharmacy, more and more medication. So we want to address the root cause. And if you wanted to see faster results with your blood pressure, add a good more magnesium, more vitamin D, and even potassium. But none of this will work if your carbs are too high. So you want to really address that. And I think that would be the best plan for you.
All right, a plague across the world with those carbs. I'm speaking from experience. All right, let's go to quiz question. And thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Hope that helps. Here's quiz question number 4.
What factors in modern medicine are actually about creating health?
All right. I'm not sure everybody's on that bandwagon in terms of the medical community, but, we'll find out. Ramon from YouTube, is chlorophyll good to consume when eating meat?
I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's necessarily something that's going to add to anything, but chlorophyll is like the blood of the plant, and it's loaded with magnesium and also certain pigments that can help you as an antioxidant. It's in vegetables, and there's some great properties of chlorophyll to help heal the inner lining of the colon in different places. So there's a lot of benefit to that. My question is, how are they making the chlorophyll? How are they extracting it? Are they using chemicals to pull it out of something? What substance does it come from? Or are you getting your chlorophyll naturally that comes from certain things that are green? So those are all questions that you want to ask. But true chlorophyll is fat soluble. So when you actually pour your chlorophyll in water, it should look like it doesn't really mix if it's true chlorophyll.
All right, very good. Our producer, Terry, is gambling that the name of that book was Pandora's Gamble. Is that correct?
No, there's another book. It's his last recent book. It's called Gavin. That's his name. I'll actually put it in the comments when we're done here. But now I have to get this information because now my attention's on it. So let me pull it up real fast. It is Gavin Becker. Okay, Gavin Becker, and the book is called. Well, you can look it up real fast, Terry, because now I'm questioning.
Yeah, get on it, Terry.
Forbidden facts.
Wow,
that's it.
All right, that's great, Terry. Thank you for lighting that fuse. We now have it. And let's go to Coletta from YouTube. What are the best supplements for post-menopause? Already taking your magnesium, glutamate, and D3K2.
Yeah, I think a couple things that really increase the magnesium and trace minerals. Those two right there, super important. Most people are deficient in those, and that'll give you a wide range of different things, including the zinc and the iodine and the selenium and these other things. So that's what I'd recommend. Postmenopausal women, what happens is they start to lose their muscle to a certain degree. They could, and because they have a loss of the ovary function, which includes the estrogen connection to all these other things. So really going into menopause, it's really important to, your diet has to be even healthier, more strict, which is usually not the case. And then also keep up your exercise and ensure that you sleep enough, but even go higher with the nutrients to support some of the deficiencies that are being created just from the lack of that one hormone.
All right, very good. Let's see. Emma Rose from Rumble. I have a sharp pain near my navel that's flared up when I move in a certain way. Any ideas what that could be?
Well, usually you have about 30 feet of intestine, okay? And down there in your abdomen, a lot of times people feel different pains in different places. And things cross over because not everyone has the same location of the ileocecal valve, for example, in the right place. So I don't know, but what I would do is I would, as a first action, because your colon is connected to your diet, believe it or not. And so I would look at what you're eating that could cause some irritation or undigested material. It's usually going to be in the relationship of nuts, junk food. But really, junk food doesn't cause a lot of the bloating and pain. It's usually the so-called healthy food with fiber and the nuts and certain beans and definitely grains, whole grains. All that will just irritate your colon all the way down. So I would start eliminating those things and see if it doesn't go away. And then one at a time, you can know what it actually is. And then you'll be set. But some people really heal all that pain and bloating when they go on carnivore because they're eliminating all these different fiber foods and other things that can irritate them. So I would go in that direction and not do what a lot of people do, is start taking something in addition to what they're doing. I would eliminate certain things.
All right, very good. Let's go to Lagadian, I think, from Rumble. Could you please explain the correlation between blood glucose and ketone levels, if anything? That's interesting, if any.
Your body actually prefers to run on ketones. Now, certain people will disagree with that and say, no, the body wants to run on glucose. Well, from an ancestral viewpoint, we didn't have glucose available 24/7 like we have it now. We didn't eat so frequently. So our bodies then have this plan of running on a different fuel source, which is ketones that are made from your own fat and from the dietary fat. So that's really, when you measure the ketones in the body, it tells you, what levels your ketones are. Ketones are regulated by insulin. So it's kind of like you can't really have high glucose and high ketones. It's going to be high ketones and low glucose, or low ketones and high glucose, things like that. I've been helping people to shift from running their bodies on ketones for a long time, and their health improves greatly. Some people say, well, some tissues require glucose. Yes, but our body can make up that glucose very easily. It's called gluconeogenesis from the liver. And that's what it's supposed to do, especially at night when you're sleeping. So when you measure the glucose in the blood, normal would be something like 80 nanograms per milliliter. Okay, that's normal. And it doesn't really mean anything to you until I tell you that's really only like 1 teaspoon of sugar. But if we look at how much sugar people are consuming, it's more than 1 teaspoon. It's probably like over 50, sometimes over 100. If you calculate all the hidden sugars in the starches, starches are a string of glucose. It's hidden sugar. And then when you have refined starch right here, this is industrial starch. That's in most of our food. It's all just really sugar. It's going to turn into sugar pretty fast. So we're dumping all this in here, and then how can the blood sugar be normal? Because insulin is in the background working like crazy to pull it out, put it in storage, until it gets tired to the point where it doesn't work anymore. Then you no longer control it. Now we have high sugar. That's called diabetes. So the diagnosis of diabetes is really only 2 teaspoons of sugar in the blood. Yeah, 2 teaspoons, not 1. So again, wait a second, if I'm consuming 50 teaspoons, where's it going? The pancreas is working hard to pull it out. So when we're talking about glucose in the blood and ketones in the blood, that gives you a little reference on that. I probably have over 200 videos on that topic. So that's all I'm going to say, Steve.
All right, very good. Well, here the audience has something to say about quiz question number 4, which asks, what factors in modern medicine are actually about creating health? And 85% of our respondents say modern medicine provides absolutely no factors of creating health. Good for you. 10% say it lowers inflammation, and 5% say it helps create the awareness of the threat of obesity. So any winners on number 4?
Yeah, that's interesting. It decreases the perception of the threat of obesity. Okay. But then what's the treatment? Ozempic? So I tried to answer this question. I couldn't come up with any answers on that, because I couldn't even find one. You have emergency care. Well, we need that desperately. But then when you get into chronic disease, everything is downstream managing symptoms or disease. But I'm talking about creating health. And then I realized, wait a second, only the body can actually heal itself with the right inputs, right? The body heals it. We've gotten to a place over the years where we don't think we've lost that. It's all about dependency on the medication. We have to control the blood sugars and the blood pressure. No, the body, when you go to sleep at night, it detoxifies, it's repairing DNA, it's making proteins, it's rebuilding stuff. You don't even have to give it money. You don't even have to have an insurance for that. It does it automatic. You don't have to worry about it. So it's like you got this healing thing going on 24/7. You just have to realize that, and then put the right inputs into it, like the right foods, the right environment. But as far as medicine, it's really become a situation where it's gotten away from creating health. Hippocrates said, food is medicine, right? Now it's like even in this medical book, 1926 version, this had 75%, at least natural things to encourage the healing process. Now it's 0. So I just want to, I'm just curious what people think. Like, medicine is no longer about health. It's about treating disease. That's really what it is. They kind of lost the health part of it. And this is where Maha comes in here to try to bring people back to a point where everything wasn't captured and taken over by these industry. Unfortunately, every single organization related to health is being funded directly by industry. So unfortunately, the answers are going to be more supporting this sick care, right, and not actually getting to the root.
Well, when you get down to the real motivations that us humans can have, a friend of mine had fatty liver diagnosis, fibrosis level number 3, said you're on the way to big trouble, scared the crud, out of him. And now, without Ozempic, intermittent fasting, lower carbs, weight's coming off, blood sugar's improving, that kind of motivation that, look, you keep up this track and you're going to die, really had a profound effect, and all the nonsense went away. And so it's, we can improve our health if we have, unfortunately, it's terrible that you have to have such a motivation to do so, but boy, was that a turnaround, and they're feeling great, looking great, the numbers are coming down, etc. So I wish we could all, do that without such stark, realizations from the doctor.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
All right. Carolyn from YouTube. Apparently MS is linked to parasites in the body. What's the best remedy to get rid of them?
So there might be a link to parasites, but I think you might have a better success looking at the Coimbra protocol for MS, because it's like over 90% success using therapeutic dosage of vitamin D3. There's only 4 doctors in the United States that apparently help focus on that, and they're trained by Dr. Coimbra, and I would find one of them and you can work with them. But that actually reestablishes more control over your immune system to the point where you can decrease the symptoms of MS. In fact, I personally talked to Coimbra, I interviewed him, and even just one of the people that he trained, who actually is in Brazil, has over 1,000 videos on YouTube. It's in a different language, but he actually has visuals of people with almost every single autoimmune disease before and afters that will literally blow you away and make you fall off your chair. And we're still trying to get them translated and work and get permission. But I was like, that got my attention. So anyone that has that many success stories and you say, well, that's just anecdotal, but wait a second, you're looking at someone with this severe, it looks like leprosy on their skin, and all of a sudden it goes away. Or I have more credibility than that than some of the so-called studies that they do. So anyway, this is I would go in that direction. But for parasites, if you want to address that, wormwood extract and black walnut hulls. It usually comes in a package with 2. You can get those together, and that tends to help get rid of parasites.
Okay, I tell you what, thanks to our astute audience, we have caught up, but I think to keep up with the time, would you ask and answer this question for the audience as we're, or would you rather just let them do it? Go ahead, sorry.
If you go to bed thinking and solving problems, and this excessive, your brain just can't turn off, okay, what is the best remedy for that? And let's just see what people say.
All right, let's do it. Let's go for that. Let's go back to social media, and let's see. We did that. Sorry. This thing spooled up. Thomas from YouTube, what are the withdrawal symptoms of stopping sugar intake cold turkey? How long before we start feeling better? That's a good question.
Okay, so I've looked at this, and I don't think it's a withdrawal. I do not think it's a withdrawal. I could be wrong. I think it's just a blood sugar. It's low blood sugar, because if you stop eating it, right, it goes down, because you haven't switched over to keto yet, because it takes like 3 days or 2 or 3 days to switch over. So I I really think it's low blood sugar, not some withdrawal. So I have a simple solution, and this seems to work good. Replace this sugar with more protein. And that's because some of the protein turns into sugar. So, or it can be converted into sugar from what's called that gluconeogenesis. So anyway, that's what I would do as a strategy, and that way it'll get rid of your symptoms, or with the so-called withdrawal symptoms.
All right, very good. KK from YouTube, best natural solutions to reduce cholesterol. Do you need to reduce it?
Well, I actually would, if it's high, normally that comes from eating high carbs and sugars. So what you want to do is you just want to eat healthy. And if the cholesterol goes higher, okay, you want to get an advanced lipid profile and look at the particle size. And you might see that the type of LDL that you have is the one that doesn't do damage to the cell walls. And so it's totally fine. There's actually a very common genetic reason why that is. And there's a lot of videos on it, but it's confusing to people and they're concerned about it. But as long as you have low carb, I wouldn't even worry about if the cholesterol is high. Okay, the key is low carb because you don't want insulin resistance. You don't want to have high fat and high sugar at the same time and have high cholesterol. That's bad, okay? So, yeah.
Don't do that. Okay, Mom of 300s, love that handle from Rumble. Are there any studies you're familiar with about red light therapy helping cataracts? And do you have any links to a good body lotion like you shared about the deodorant that you use? Thanks. Couple questions from Mom of 300s.
I have several homemade body lotions or hand lotions or face lotions that you can make. You should look those up because it's some really great things you could put on your skin that are next level. And even this tallow is a big one now, but I know if I said lard, you'd probably go, what? But yeah, that's pretty next level too. But I know someone's going to take that out of context and say, oh yeah, Dr. Berg's now telling you to put pig fat on your skin. Okay, so then the first question though was what, Steve?
See, let me go back to that. I have a quiz question up there. I may have, I probably deleted that, and forgive me, because we're up to quiz question number 5, so can't help you there. Terry, if you've got a deal, let's hold that off, and let's go to quiz question number 5, and maybe we can go back to that question. And quiz question number 5 asks to the audience, if you go to bed excessively thinking and solving problems, what's the best remedy? 65% say it's breathing pattern, nice breathing pattern. 25% say it's increasing magnesium intake, maybe glutamate, as you say. And 10% say it's adding melatonin. And melatonin, Doc, I've heard some things. If you keep taking that, it can create issues. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, so melatonin, I would keep it under 3 milligrams if you really need it. Maybe 1 to 3, but I wouldn't go high on that. Again, mixed reviews on that, but it will help you go to sleep. But you know, what is it doing? The other things, I don't know. But I think if you have small amounts here and there, that's fine. But the big one that we're talking about is B1. B1. If you start to solve problems when you're sleeping, you just need more B1 because stress, refined carbs, too much coffee, too much tea, all deplete you of B1. And so I think a lot of people don't realize that. I wouldn't get a synthetic version. I would get the natural B1. It's called L-theanine, and it's from garlic. And man, does it work. But I also recommend before you go to bed, on a piece of paper, clear out your mind of all the incomplete projects or even projects that you're working on or problems. Just write it on a paper, get it out of your head so you can turn that switch off. Because if you're solving the problems of the world in the middle of the night, that's not going to help you sleep. On that note, Steve, I think we're done, right? I think
we absolutely are. Although Terry was going to come back with the other. I tell you what, that question. let's see, let's wait 1 second. Terry, you got that for me so we can go over that? In the meantime, why don't we ask one more question because the audience has been so nice. Let's see. Rebecca from YouTube, what's the best natural remedy for depression and anxiety?
Vitamin D3 and intermittent fasting are the two most powerful. You got to take at least 20 to 30 to 40,000 IUs of vitamin D3. But then intermittent fasting is the really powerful. And then third on the list is lowering your carbs. If you do those three, you probably do very well.
Okay, and Terry, thanks for your support today. And the question was from Mom of 300s. Are there any studies you're familiar with about red light therapy helping cataracts?
Yeah. Okay. I'm not familiar with any studies, but I do know it does help. But you have to be careful if you have to keep it really low dose and for time and it's really hard to find a device that that you can trust. So I'm not crazy about looking into the red light, other than if your fireplace is going or a campfire, or you can get that infrared. That would be more natural. But as far as cataracts go, I would definitely you can do a topical. It's called NAC, but not the regular NAC. It's N-acetyl carnosine, not cysteine. Okay, you need the carnosine version, and that will help cataracts as far as drops. And then also quercetin, a lot of phytonutrients taken internally can help build up your antioxidants in your eye. But make sure you have low carb, because that's really the killer. The high carb is the killer of cataracts. And on that note, have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you guys next week.